Hi everyone, and welcome back. This post comes from the subreddit, Am I the A-hole? Written by user H, Leighton, titled, Would I be the a-hole if I stopped helping my disabled father because of his favoritism toward my siblings? I'm a 26-year-old man, and I have two sisters, ages 18 and 23. We all share the same parents, who are in their 50s. When I was 16, my mom and dad went through a bitter divorce. My sister stayed with my mom, while I moved in with my dad. My father is disabled and has been unable to work since I was 16 due to a long list of health problems. He has kidney failure, is on dialysis, and is waiting for a transplant. Because of this, I've been his primary caregiver in various ways for the past decade. During this time, he's barely kept in touch with my sisters. At one point, he let my older sister claim benefits she wasn't entitled to by listing herself as his caregiver. She's never actually cared for him in any capacity. This caused repeated arguments between my dad and me, as I felt he was helping her commit fraud just to feel like he was doing something for her. Recently, his doctor informed me that he's no longer on the kidney transplant list. His health has deteriorated so badly that they aren't sure he could survive the anesthesia for surgery. A big reason for this, I was told, is his poor diet, which is making his other health issues worse. Hearing this, my wife and I decided to move back in with him, so we could help improve his diet and hopefully get him healthy enough for the transplant again. After moving in, I went through his recent mail and found a letter showing that my youngest sister had applied for a Young Carers grant, claiming she takes care of him. My dad is lucky if he sees her once a month, let alone the 16 hours per week the grant requires. I confronted him, and he admitted he was just trying to help her however he could. That led to another huge fight, because right now, my wife and I are the only ones providing any actual support. My sisters do absolutely nothing. Both are adults, yet neither has lifted a finger to help. And here he is again bending the rules, possibly breaking the law, to benefit them. It makes us feel completely taken for granted. We pour our time, energy, and money into making his life more comfortable. And yet, he keeps prioritizing helping my sisters access funds and benefits they haven't earned. He's never once asked them to help him, leaving all of the responsibility for his care on our shoulders. Out of the three of us, I'm the only sibling not receiving any kind of benefit connected to his care. Now, my wife and I are seriously considering pulling all of our support, financial and physical, and leaving his care entirely in the hands of the two people who supposedly benefit from looking after him. Would that make me the a-hole? From my perspective, no, it wouldn't. You've spent 10 years giving your father your physical, emotional, and financial support while your sisters contribute nothing. Instead, they've been collecting benefits fraudulently with his help. That's not just unfair, it's exploitation. This isn't about punishing him. It's about setting boundaries. You've sacrificed real time, effort, and stability for someone who doesn't acknowledge your contribution and actively prioritizes people who refuse to help. If your father wants to risk legal trouble and put his trust in people who won't care for him, then he can also hand over the responsibility to them. You've done more than your share. If stepping back protects your own well-being and your marriage, then that's the right choice. You're not abandoning him. You're refusing to be used. Here's what some community members had to say. Deleted, not the a-hole. Without you, he might not even be alive right now. If he doesn't care or appreciate what you do, then leave him to it. Ruger7, speaking from experience, let's reframe this. Would I be the a-hole for ending my long-term, unappreciated support for my dad, who has ignored me while funneling all benefits to my entitled, absentee siblings? Absolutely not. He's rewarding their neglect and punishing your sacrifice. He can't have it both ways. If he values your help, he should direct benefits to you. If he chooses to give them to others, let them take over the responsibility. Theory addict, not the a-hole. Tell him that if he wants your help to continue, he needs to contact the benefit offices and admit he lied. If he won't, then let his daughters step up. You've been his caregiver for years while they've freeloaded. You have every right to walk away. Dopey the OB replied. Back in university, I qualified for a low-income support grant since my dad was my only supporting parent. My mom wanted nothing to do with me. That's the only benefit I've ever received. My eldest sister also got the same grant by falsely listing him as her sole parent, despite living with my well-off mom. She also got a car through his care benefits, one that was supposed to be used for him. I expected to receive it when I passed my test, but he gave it to her instead, and she's never once used it for his care. The support my younger sister is now applying for won't affect me directly, but it's just another example of him breaking rules for them while expecting nothing in return. Extra details from OP's comments. For the past decade, I've been the primary caregiver for my terminally ill father. His doctor has made it clear that without major lifestyle changes, he won't live long enough for a transplant. The pressure on me has been huge. I love him, but figuring out where his needs end and mine begin has been a constant battle. Whenever I try to set boundaries, I feel like I'm abandoning him. What makes it worse is how he keeps enabling my sisters. Neither has helped him at all, yet both have falsely claimed to be his carers to receive money, and he helps them do it. One barely speaks to him, the other rarely calls. Meanwhile, my wife and I handle everything from daily care to paying his bills. The Motability car is a perfect example. He qualified for it because of his disability, and it could have made caring for him much easier. But he gave it to one of my sisters who's never used it for his needs. That's left us renting a car at high cost just to manage his care. It's beyond frustrating to see benefits meant for his well-being exploited by someone who doesn't lift a finger. My sisters never lift a finger to help. I've called them out on it more than once, especially knowing they're collecting benefits because of our dad's illness. But they shut me down every time. When I was a kid, I lived with my dad in poverty while they enjoyed a comfortable life with our mom, who hasn't given me a penny since I was 16. Seeing them pretend they're struggling while quietly benefiting from his condition makes me sick. Dad's battling severe depression. And I understand that in his mind, this might feel like the only way he can support them. But he won't even set basic boundaries, like telling my sister she shouldn't be claiming caregiver benefits unless she's actually helping. At some point, you have to ask, if he refuses to back the people who are genuinely caring for him, why should we keep doing it? Most people in the community agreed I wouldn't be in the wrong if I stopped helping and let my sisters step in. I didn't post an update back then, but now, 4 years later, here it is. I was reminded of this post recently when my dad's birthday passed, and figured I might as well share the ending. In January 2023, my father died from complete kidney failure. I wasn't surprised. His health had been going downhill for a long time, and a transplant was never going to happen. But the rest of the family was stunned. The last time he spoke to anyone, I showed him the 7-week ultrasound of my now 2-year-old son, his only grandchild. We rushed to have the earliest scan possible because I knew time was short. In the image, my son looked like a little seahorse tadpole. Dad cried when he saw it, and we had a short talk about fatherhood before exhaustion overtook him. He fell asleep and never woke up. I'd asked him not to tell anyone, since it was early in the pregnancy, and I didn't want to jinx it. He promised, I'll take it to the grave. And 3 days later, he did exactly that. I truly believe that moment, and seeing that scan helped him go peacefully. As for my sisters, nothing changed. I'd already accepted that I couldn't change my dad, and that he was living on borrowed time. For his birthday that year, we rented a canal boat because it was something he had always wanted to do. He crashed it almost immediately. My sisters barely acknowledged him that day. No visit, no call, Not even a text on what turned out to be his last birthday. He was devastated. He reduced contact with them, but still helped them financially. When they learned he was dying, they rushed to his side and stayed until the end. But, as before, it was far too late. He was already unconscious. They hadn't shown urgency when he was first admitted, only showing up when I told them he'd decided to come off life support. I'd been told over 2 weeks earlier that he might not survive, and I believed it. I'd seen him sick before, but this time felt different. The rest of the family convinced themselves he'd recover, so they didn't treat it seriously. Eventually, Dad asked me directly if he was dying. Everyone else had been feeding him false hope, mostly to comfort themselves. I told him the truth. Yes, you're going to die soon. It was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had. He passed surrounded by people who had barely been there for him while he was alive. My sisters regret how they treated him, but it's far too late. We were civil at the funeral, but haven't spoken since. I scattered my share of his ashes at the far end of the canal he never got to see. My sisters turned theirs into jewelry. I miss him every day, especially when I look at his grandson, his spitting image. It's a shame he never found closure with his daughters, but I believe he died a happy man. And for me, that's enough. You gave your father love, honesty, and presence when it mattered most. You gave him peace, and he left this world with that. That's a powerful thing. Now, let's move to the next story, which also comes with an update. This one is from the subreddit, Am I the A-hole? Posted by user FarsGuy2298. Am I the a-hole for getting upset that my mother-in-law keeps asking for my daughter? I generally get along with my mother-in-law as long as it's in small doses. She can be a bit much at times, but I usually manage during family gatherings. She has a habit of nitpicking and focusing on the negative, but overall we're fine. Over the past year, my husband and I have faced a lot of stress and health challenges. I mention this because it might be affecting my patience, and maybe I'm overreacting here. My mother-in-law lost her husband, and now lives alone, about 45 minutes away. My husband is close to her, and they talk often. She's invited to every holiday and event with our daughter. Sometimes my daughter spends a weekend at her place, and she's made a friend there, which I think is great. The problem is, it's becoming more frequent. I work 5 days a week and barely see anyone during that time. I'm fine with my daughter going over for the occasional weekend during the school year, and sometimes in the summer. But lately, it's gone from occasional visits to holiday parties hosted by her neighbors, every single holiday break, and constant questions about which days she can have my daughter. Just yesterday, on the very first weekend of summer, I got home only to be asked, "Hey, can't she stay at Grandma's this weekend?" Saying no is hard because I know my daughter wants to go, mostly because her friend is there. I'm sure my mother-in-law knows that too. My husband feels caught in the middle and gets upset because he thinks I react negatively every time she asks. But it's starting to feel like we're setting up some kind of unofficial shared custody arrangement. So, am I the a-hole here? Or am I stressing over nothing? In my opinion, no, you're not wrong. You're a working mom who wants to spend weekends with her daughter. That's not unreasonable. If your goal is quality time, it's okay to say, "This weekend is just for us." That's not gatekeeping. It's protecting your bond. Setting expectations ahead of time will help you avoid these last-minute requests. The community largely agreed, with comments like, Educational West 5212. Not the a-hole. You need to set boundaries. I'm not saying cut visits entirely, but have a serious conversation. Any information 8075. This feels like partial custody. You do the heavy lifting and Grandma is just the fun weekend parent. Sparkling Wine 23. Not the a-hole. Arrange playdates instead. Your daughter shouldn't be spending holidays without you unless you choose to allow it. Here's the update. I took the advice to heart and tried to approach the situation with gratitude for the relationship my daughter and mother-in-law share. Last weekend, my daughter stayed with her Friday through Sunday, then came back in time for our Memorial Day fish fry. She told me her friend there has a birthday party next weekend, and I agreed she could go. This week was busy. My daughter had multiple dance classes to prepare for her recital, and I spent most of my free time waiting for her after work. The recital was amazing. My mother-in-law came, and afterward we went to dinner. That's when she turned to my daughter and asked, "So, you're coming home with me, right?" I was stunned. She just had her last weekend, and I'd already approved the next one. Without thinking, I said no and explained we had plans. A family crab leg boil, which my daughter loves. I admit I said it with more bite than necessary. My daughter quickly tried to smooth things over by saying, "Oh, we were just joking, Mom," which made me feel like the bad guy again. I know I should be glad she enjoys being at Grandma's and spending time with her friend, but I work all week, and those weekends are all I have with her. I still feel bad because my daughter was trying to keep the peace, but I also know I'm not wrong for wanting my time with her. In the end, I'm just a mom protecting the little family time I get, and that's not a bad thing.